Hi, this is Gemma from Ethicas and my colleague Emma. We're presenting on a bottom-up approach to algorithmic auditing. As you may have heard, the European Commission issued just a few days ago a proposal for a regulation for AI, which establishes which are the sectors of AI that are to be considered high risk and therefore subject to higher standards of documentation and transparency. Those sectors include medical, educational, criminal justice systems, health, employment, etc. So basically, whenever there's AI that has impacts on the lives and opportunities of people, there's going to be more stringent requirements when it comes to documenting what you do, choosing your data sources, and basically being accountable for the automated decisions that people are subjected to, and decisions that make decisions about people's lives and opportunities. We're very happy about this proposed regulation because it basically underlines and confirms everything we've been working on for the last few years at Ethicas. We call our approach a bottom-up approach because it's an approach that we've developed by working in algorithmic auditing. So it's not an idea that we have in our head, but it's something that we've been working on for the last 3 years with different clients to learn is whether auditing is a good way of addressing the things about AI that concern us. The main thing that we're concerned about is how technology is impacting on people and how do we protect people in data processes. In our work in the past, we found how not only AI, but data processes tend to have a disparate impact on vulnerable communities. We've seen lots of data dynamics that impact upon those that have less of an opportunity or a chance to defend themselves. So we want to make sure that the technology that is going to be permeating our lives is able to protect people in those technical processes. And so 3 years ago, we started asking the people that we work with and our clients whether they'd be so kind to let us try auditing with them to see what it means, to see how to open the black box of AI and see what is happening and introduce mitigation measures, both technical and organizational, that would help us improve those algorithms and ensure that those algorithms were accountable and also were protecting people when making decisions about them. In the last 3 years, we've been auditing algorithms of different kinds, mainly recommender systems, risk assessment systems, and natural language processing algorithms, both in the public and the private sector, in Europe, the US, and Latin America. And we've learned a lot. We've learned things that work and things that don't. We've learned, for instance, that the principle of data minimization, that it's one of the main principles of data protection that we really care about, is maybe not that useful when auditing systems, because if you don't collect sensitive data, you can't ensure and you can't prove that you are protecting the people that that data comes from. So what we've learned is that probably we'll need to come up with systems that allow for auditors to collect their own sensitive data just for checkup purposes, just for auditing purposes, while developers may be able to use other kinds of data for training purposes. So there's quite a lot that we still need to learn about how to audit these systems effectively, but we are realizing and learning about the things that work and that don't work. Another thing we've learned is that auditing cannot just be technical. It's not a technical issue, and it'd be very hard for a team of engineers to address building fair and responsible algorithms, because we found that oftentimes the crucial decisions that impact on whether you are able to protect people and specifically vulnerable groups in AI systems depends or relies on a good understanding of the social dynamics that are translated into the data that you use as training data. So it is a matter of quality and data being up to date, but it's also about choices. It's also about how do you translate a complex social issue into data inputs. That process may seem trivial and easy to do. We find a lot of mistakes being done at this very crucial moment of deciding what data do you need to solve this problem? What is the best way to address this specific challenge that you have? Choosing the right data is really important, but also understanding who may be vulnerable in that data set that you have. For instance, we know when we're auditing in banking, for instance, in banking, because financial data in the past, until very recently, the economic representative of a family was usually a man. That means that in banking data sets, women are underrepresented. And that is translated often algorithmically in higher risk. And so the way that a bank treats us women is different from the way that a bank treats men. And we see that happening over and over again. You need to understand what kind of populations may be vulnerable because of historical and contextual issues that may have impacted on your data set. And this is a crucial point in auditing algorithms. And so you don't want to limit your audit to just a technical thing, because if you just limit it to a technical approach, you may be saying that a racist algorithm is a perfect algorithm because it faithfully reproduces the conditions of reality. And yes, it may be an accurate algorithm, but is it a legal or accountable or good for society algorithm? We don't think so. And so you will only be able to audit algorithms if you understand things beyond the technical. Being the technical, really important. We need to go beyond that to understand also the societal and the organizational. So when we audit algorithms, we make sure that we go end to end from the very beginning of the conceptualization of the issue until the very end of the implementation of an algorithmic solution into an organizational process. And without further ado, I'll let Emma take responsibility for the second half of our presentation.
Thank you, Gemma. So as Gemma said, I'd like to have a very brief overview of the general objectives of algorithmic auditing. For us is to provide quality assurance for social impact algorithms. That means identify or anticipate errors, risks, or threats. And I think it's quite interesting what Gemma said, because I think about the questions: what kind of errors and threats for whom? So in our methodology, we have 4 guiding principles. They are the legal and ethical compliance. The second one is disability. The third one is acceptability. And the fourth one is proper data protection and data management. So the first one, legal and ethical compliance, it means to review the algorithm and the system, thinking about the fundamental rights: privacy, data protection, the quality, the social cohesion, the freedom, and trust. Actually, that's very important for the second one, that is the disability. An algorithm must always be explainable, accurate, replicable, transparent, and fair. And third one is acceptability. An algorithm must be understandable, controllable, sustainable, and also beneficial to the parties affected by it. And the fourth one, the proper data protection and data management, also, as Gemma said, reviews the topics of data, of being a good quality, up to date, appropriate, and store and process using relevant techniques. So as she said, we analyze we audit the system with 2 kinds of analysis: the technical one that evaluates the effectiveness of the system, and also the qualitative analysis to assess the usability and accessibility of that algorithm. We have come up with 4 auditing stages. The first one is the the first study. So we gather all the information or basic information about the system, about who did it, what's the purpose of it, and very important, how was the problem solved before this algorithm was put in place. The second phase is mapping the situation. So we gather more information about how the system is implemented or deployed, depending on the phase of the algorithm. And also we gather and we gain more knowledge about the context where that algorithm is put in place. With that, we write the analysis plan. This is a very important part, because here we elaborate different hypotheses of algorithmic bias. Depending on as Gemma said, we identify those vulnerable groups or populations that may be negatively affected by the algorithm, and we want to prove if those hypotheses are right or wrong. And then we explain how we're going to pursue that analysis. So the first stage is properly the analysis, where we normally do the technical analysis of the data, but also all the information about the explainability and acceptability of the system. We also review all the privacy and data quality regarding the 4 guidelines. And with all that, we write our results and recommendations if we have any findings on this particular algorithm. All this is a very brief overview of our methodology that it's recently published in a guide that it's available at our website if you want to have more information. Thank you.